You saw the headline, U.S. Navy on alert. But what actually changes in those first 5 minutes? We're going below deck, no speculation, just doctrine and procedure, to track the 3 shifts that flip a task force from calm to combat ready. You'll see how AIM-9M tightens, why silent comms cut the chatter, and how air defense sectors realign to cover the strait. Then we map the destroyer screen that moves to shield the crown jewels. By the end, you'll recognize maximum readiness when you hear it, and know what survives when missiles and drones crowd the sky. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. T+00:00. The first thing you notice is not a horn or a launch. It's the drop. Music on the internal net is gone. Speakers that hum go dead. The bridge voice slides to a hush. Then different lights come alive, status boards, link monitors, and a wall of soft greens that mean sensors, not chatter, have the lead. The threat board spikes in 3 lanes. From shore, ballistic arcs that don't ask permission. In the mid-altitudes, cruise profiles and one-way attack drones that ride the wind. Down low, small boats probing lanes, looking for gaps and reactions. That cocktail forces a hard break from routine.
The vast U.S. military buildup in this region continues. There are now roughly 15,000 U.S. service members in this region, whether here in Puerto Rico or in the Caribbean Sea.
Putting U.S. troops on the ground is not off the table when it comes to possible military action against a South American country. The U.S. military continues to add firepower to an already major presence in the Caribbean.
Here, we've heard from a local mayor, 1,000 troops are now at a base in the west, and they're hosting the Reaper drones, armed with Hellfire missiles. These are ones that are thought to be taking out these suspected drug smuggling boats.
Maintenance pauses, loose gear locks down, and every watchstander shifts from admin to action. Here's the tension you live with now. You need to talk to fight as one. But the air and the sea punish any ship that shouts. In a drone and missile world, your emissions draw lines back to your hull. So you trade volume for control. You keep the brain linked while you prune every what you can. Switch 1 is AIM-9M. The radar plan tightens. High-power search sets stop painting wide fields and start pulsing under strict control, duty cycles cut, lobes shaped to keep the picture without broadcasting your heart rate to the horizon. Passive sensors take the front seat, ESM sniffs for drone control links, seeker heads, and uplinks from coastal batteries, infrared lines watch for hot spots where missiles break cloud or drones skim warm water. The data links throttle into low probability of intercept modes, narrow beams where possible, lower power, shorter bursts. You still share the fight. You just make it harder to find the talk. Now the words you do use shrink. Silent comms is not mute, it's discipline. Pre-briefed brevity takes over, 1 or 2 words that carry a whole checklist. Circuit split by purpose, nobody bleeds across nets. Old tools get respect, flashlight signals on dark decks, flags if daylight allows, even Aldous lamps for close formation steering. When geometry permits, you go directional, line-of-sight radios, laser comms for a skinny pipe of data that does not spill to the horizon. Most of the traffic becomes structured data, tactics messages with fields, not free talk, so the network breathes with minimal noise.
The United States is expanding its military presence in the Caribbean as the White House weighs possible action inside Venezuela. The Trump administration says the buildup is part of its war on drugs.
New Pentagon images show a B-52 long-range bomber flying over the USS Gerald R. Ford as it steams toward the Caribbean, a provocative display of the American military power that is now being staged against Venezuela. The Roosevelt Roads base is one of 5 locations where U.S. forces forces are now operating on an American territory strategically positioned north of Venezuela.
Switch 2 lands in the combat system. Aegis ships cut the sky into sectors and assign ownership. No one hunts everywhere, each hull takes a slice and a duty. You define engagement zones and steer shooters by geometry, not ego. The ID matrix updates for this threat mix: drones with low radar cross-section, cruise missiles that hug terrain or sea, ballistic bodies that fall fast and hot. Every track gets a route, a rule, and a responsible gun or missile. Here's how it plays out in a minute that matters. Low on the nose, a swarm of Shahed-class drones rides the chop. High astern, a ballistic path draws a hard line from a coastal battery. Forward, the big arrays look up and long, not to brag, but to catch the arc early and feed the math. Aft, another platform watches the back door, tuned for the drop from space and the cruise skimmer that might sneak in with it. ESM stitches the threat picture without shouting, bearings lines, signal types, changes in power that hint at a launch. The network fuses it, and nobody raises their voice. Layered defense doctrine holds the line. Outer pickets cue early with eyes and passive ears. Mid-layer shooters plan shots but hold triggers until the matrix says yes. You don't waste missiles on decoys or drown your own sky. Inside, the last ring stays loaded, RAM rails, CRAM heads, CIWS barrels warm, ready to swat what leaks through. Counter-UAS rules bend for low RCS targets: tighter gates, shorter dwell, more weight on IR and ESM queues, and pre-authorized chains for fast shots before a slow drone becomes a fast problem. By minute 5, the force is harder to see and faster to think. The air picture belongs to sectors, not to a single loud voice on a busy net. You traded noise for control, and survivability climbed before anyone fired. But steel still sits where it sat. That's the gap. With emissions tight and sectors drawn, you need hulls in new places to buy time and angles. The screen has to shift, and it has to shift now. Maximum readiness is quiet. Tight. You win by shrinking your signature, carving sectors, and putting steel where it buys time. That's how a crowded strait stops being a lottery and becomes a plan. You choose the first move. Do you kill your emissions and force the fight onto your terms, or shift the destroyer screen first and change the angles? Comment your choice below. If you want the tactical mindset that turns headlines into decisions, subscribe now. Next, we break down the geometry, offset bearings, lead trail spacing, and choke point arcs, so you see how the crown jewels stay covered when drones and missiles stack the same sky.